My name is Isaac Fokuo. I'm from Ghana. I live in Nairobi. As part of what I do, I run the African Leadership Network. I'm also the founder of something called the China Africa Center of Excellence that focuses on private sector Africa engagement with China. And I also run a company called Both Limited, which looks at investment flows from other parts of the world into Africa. The new face of Africa that I'd like to see portrayed to the world, I believe, it's an Africa that is authentic, an Africa that tells its own stories, and an Africa that has its interests in the right perspective. Also, I think it's an Africa that its people are prosperous, and its people have a livelihood that is sustainable, and people that are free to make choices for themselves and their families, and that families will see themselves that their next generation of kids and spouses or whatever are in a better situation than they are today. What makes the Tutu Fellowship quite distinct is that, to my knowledge, is the only leadership platform on the continent that targets the self and the person. And also targets you not at a very young age, but actually while you're in the process of your leadership journey. And it catches you at a very good time, because this is a time when a lot of us are sort of trying to discover ourselves as our leadership potential, what we're doing, having some questions about our integrities and all that kind of stuff. And I think what Tutu does, and at least for me, it does for me, is that it allows you to focus on yourself and your leadership journey. It allows you to think through things that are important and what sort of leader you want to be. And you can use those skill sets, so you can use that affiliation, the relationship that you create, or the fellowship you create with your fellow Tutu members to actually scale you up and make you more effective at whatever leadership position you're in. So for me, it cuts across all these different brands of leadership platforms across Africa. And I know that there are quite a few times when I've called on my friends, even before becoming a Tutu Fellow, folks that I sort of lean on for advice have been people who've been through Tutu Fellowship, because there's a distinct character that comes along with that, and I think there's a distinct value proposition that comes along with that. I think for me, the biggest challenge is the responsibility of ensuring that the next generation of Africans don't live in poverty. And I think for our generation, the single biggest challenge is, how do you balance the prosperity you may have as an individual, and how do you balance those two things to make sure that you're providing the value across different platforms and also to the people that you're serving, and with a very high level of humility. And I think that's something that our generation struggles with a little bit. I tend to think that the generation of we're a bit selfish in the way we look at things. And so the other challenge is, how do you be more selfless in our leadership journeys? And I think that's a huge challenge. I think also the issue of balance. I think every generation struggles with balance, but I think for our generation, one of the things that leaders talk about quite a bit is the balancing between the self and the public, right? So how do you create an effective platform where you balance your life out quite a bit? And that's important, because if you don't live a balanced private life, you're not going to be an effective leader. If I was to share what I think works for me, I think that youth across the continent, and Ghana, Kenya, wherever included, is that they must understand that they have a responsibility to the continent. I think that's quite important. I think that one must always see themselves as an extension of somebody else. They have to respect the fact that their parents have gone through quite a bit to get them to wherever they are, if they are successful. And for those who are also sort of struggling to make ends meet, I think that perseverance and hard work is very important. But not just hard work for hard work's sake. I think that youth have to be very, very interested in pursuing their journeys beyond what we tell them to do. I think we live in a continent where a lot of times we get discouraged quite a bit, because people are going to tell you, this is not going to work, that's impossible, go into the sciences, don't go into arts. Pursue your dreams and pursue your passions, because those passions are going to translate to jobs and translate to something tangible for you. Most people in this world who are doing amazing things are all under the age of 40. And so if you fall under the age of 40, you should pursue your dream and push as far as you can, because you'll be successful.